Good evening. Welcome to another edition of the 411 Talk Zone radio show right here on YouTube. My name is Leon Jones. Now, what I'm going to do tonight is some pre recorded content. Normally, I would be setting up for a live stream. In fact, I'd be going on right now since it is 7 o'clock. Well, shout out to the Prophet of Thought. I wanted to do some pre-recorded content today because most of my audience is probably going to be over there because he has brother Edward Anderson on his show tonight. So if you really want to know information about what I'm going to be doing, I have a live stream, or if I do pre-recorded content, check in my community tab. That's where you can find all of the information. Now, with this pre-recorded content, what I'm going to talk about tonight is something that I see take place every day. And the title of this video is going to tell you the sense of entitlement. Again, the title of this video is the sense of entitlement. Now, this is a topic that is very important because I see a number of individuals out here who really believe that they're entitled to something even if they didn't earn it. And one thing that I see today in this modern age when it comes to people, individuals who have this attitude of entitlement are very selfish, spoiled, they have no regard or gratitude for others, they're not realistic, they do not admit when they're wrong, and they believe everything is about them. Almost a solipsistic state. Now, is entitlement a mental disorder? I don't know if it's in a DSM-5, so I can't tell you if it is a mental health issue or not, but it is a behavioral issue. Why? Because when you deal with somebody who has the attitude of entitlement, what they can do, they can put stress on you. They can make your life a living hell. Now, people who have entitlement issues could be your own children. It could be the woman or man that you're seeing. And usually people who have the attitude of entitlement, they want you to do everything for them. And it becomes a point to where they're very selfish. Now, they might not see themselves as being selfish or entitled because they're used to getting their way all the time. And generally, I find people who have entitlement issues to be very immature. Again, when you deal with individuals who have entitlement issues, it could lead to other issues like the Peter Pan syndrome. People never grow up. The princess syndrome. Now, one thing that's good about doing psychology issues is, for the most part, they tie into one another. Now, again, entitlement hurts all of us. But what can we do about entitlement? Well, you're never going to get rid of entitlement issues because people who believe that they're entitled have an unrealistic way of thinking. They do not live in the real world. They live in this world that doesn't exist. It's almost like they live in a bubble. Now, what I'm going to present to you as I share my screen here is the psychology behind the sense of entitlement. Now, I'll put the link out under the video when I'm completed because this is a Robert Porter writing, let you know where I got the information from. But it is very important that you understand the psychology behind the sense of entitlement. Now, again, here's a question. Have you ever met someone who seems like the whole world revolves around them? Someone who is never satisfied unless their own needs are being met. Now, these are individuals that generally will not make sacrifices for anybody, and they don't think anyone outside of them is important. Now, you try to deal with someone who is acted this way, and if you can get through it, you'll be much more patient than I would be. But for the most part, dealing with entitled people is very frustrating. In fact, in society, this type of behavior typically attracts strong criticism and condemnation. Now, if this sounds like a person you know, you may be dealing with someone who has a sense of entitlement, defined as an unrealistic, unmerited, or inappropriate expectation of favorable living conditions and favorable treatment at the hands of others. Now, well, that's the hands of others, correction. Now, of course, there's online therapy, and that can help you manage your interactions with this kind of behavior. Now, before we can understand the psychological roots behind the sense of entitlement, we must first understand exactly what it means. So, you hear the word entitlement a lot, but do we really know what it means? Am I entitled? I don't believe I am. Why? Because I don't get my way all the time. And see, entitled people, there's one word that you cannot use. You can't use the word no, because then they will have an impulsive reaction, like a temper tantrum. Again, you ever tell a child no, and you see them get a temper tantrum? Well, you have a number of adults like that. So when we deal with the sense of entitlement, it's basically a personality trait that is based on a person's belief that they deserve privileges or recognition for something that they didn't even earn. Now, in simpler terms, people experiencing this belief that the world owes them something in exchange for nothing. They actually believe that they're owed something in exchange for doing absolutely nothing. Examples of some entitled people, you look at your politicians out there. These politicians are grifters. They don't care anything about the people who elect them, but they're self-serving. So generally, people who are entitled in their mind, they're self-serving, and they believe that they have all the power and all the answers, and you can't tell them anything because they're never wrong. So what causes an unhealthy sense of entitlement? Well, sense of entitlement basically develops in individuals for various reasons. Now, why does that happen? Well, many people believe that when children are giving everything they ask for without learning how to earn rewards, it makes them expect the same treatment when they become adults. However, on the other hand, certain personality disorders, such as narcissistic personality disorder and antisocial personality disorder, may cause symptoms. Again, entitlement, although I don't believe it's a mental health issue, it could be now, but I don't believe it is. It starts to lead up the road. Now, when we start dealing with narcissism or narcissism, we start getting to that one leg of the dark triad, which features psychopaths, narcopaths, and of course, Machiavellianism. Now, one thing you have to understand when it comes to individuals who have entitlement issues, you have to be able to recognize it. Now, before I go on, I'm a civil engineer by trade. I am not a psychologist. I did study some psychology. So I do know about the DSM-5, and I do have some idea of what I'm talking about. Now, when it comes to entitlement issues, how can you spot the signs? Well, in a simple form, a person who has a sense of entitlement may come across as having extreme self confidence or belief that everything that happens should somehow benefit them or be about them. Now, in more drastic forms, it is often a symptom of a personality disorder, such as a narcissistic personality disorder or antisocial personality disorder. Now, some of these individuals who have entitlement issues are they're socially awkward. They don't know how to deal with people. They don't know how to deal with the real world because they think they're above the real world as well. Now, when someone with a sense of entitlement doesn't get what they want, it is not uncommon for them to lash out at others in anger or frustration. This is, again, where they get the temper tantrums. Maybe their attitude changes often, especially when things do not go their way. Again, a person who has entitlement issues will get an attitude if things don't go their way. And when they're adults, whether they're men, whether they're women, the attitude of entitlement is also an attitude of immaturity. Now, the behaviors that are manifested by a person who has a sense of entitlement is usually rooted in their belief that they should be admired and, of course, respected. Now, although they may come across as people with a bold personality or with a great sense of self confidence, many people battle personal insecurities. That is something too. When somebody is so high on themselves and they want to be recognized and they want to stick out like a a sore thumb because they want all the attention, they want to be noticed. But deep down inside, they're very insecure. They really don't have any confidence. In fact, some of them are very delusional. Some of them are in denial. But in order to get noticed, they want to do something absurd like get loud. Why? Because they don't feel good about themselves. Very low self-esteem. And sometimes they take that strength and use that as a shield. Now, unfortunately, their attention seeking behavior and overbearing personalities may often lead to isolation from those who were once friends. This in turn can lead to further feelings of isolation and, of course, depression. Now, if you're struggling with issues like this, it's important that you're not alone. Now, if you want to, you can learn how to address the issues and you can still live a healthy and balanced life. Now, when it comes to sense of entitlement, you have to understand again the psychology behind the sense of entitlement. Now, there are several theories regarding why people may develop a sense of entitlement, and I've already mentioned a couple, so you're going to hear them again. But the most common will include number one, the spoiled child. Now, this is where the child could be the only child, it could be the youngest child. These are basically the incidents where parents naturally want their children to be happy, confident, and fulfilled. Now, this is a healthy and natural urge, but when parents make the mistake of always saying yes to their kids, it can lead to a gradual sense of entitlement. This type of behavior is allowed during early childhood, and what it does, it causes young children to believe that these are acceptable patterns and behaviors throughout life. Now, children were always given what they want, and they're not required to earn rewards or good behavior, generally become adults who expect others to cave in to their demands. Often they become adults who do not know how to effectively communicate with others, and they may have trouble developing healthy relationships and maintaining stable employment. Now, an attempt to overcompensate for post wrongs in some cases after experiencing maltreatment or neglect, some people develop a self righteous attitude. And in politics, you see what happens on the left. A number of them have this self self-righteous attitude. And also, some believe this is a type of coping mechanism that is extreme. For example, a child who is deprived of love and affection may grow up to demand it from others because they did not receive it when they were young. Now, a teenager who never got picked to be on the all-star team may eventually grow up to believe he should coach a team with only the best players and may become upset if someone is not an exceptional athlete and that athlete is not allowed to be on the team. Now, also, an attitude that is rooted in resentment from past hurts or is an attempt to compensate for past wrongs endured can lead to major disruptions in both personal and professional relationships. Now, again, when I talk about psychological issues, they do connect to each other. Stress, anger, neglect, narcissism, they're all associated with entitlement, personality disorders. For some, this has nothing to do with being neglected or spoiled, but maybe the result of a personality disorder. And if you watch this video, you're going to hear me for the third time tell you about NPD. That is a narcissistic personality disorder. And you're also going to hear APD, antisocial personality disorder. Now, because personality disorders are characterized by altered views of oneself and others, it is not surprising that those with personality disorders often experience this. Now, people with a narcissistic personality disorder or other forms of personality disorders generally perceive themselves as being superior to others. Now, with that, they have a skewed view of the value of other people's worth and often don't like to follow rules. They're rebellious. They often exhibit an elevated sense of self-worth or exaggerated self-esteem, which can be fueled to insatiable levels. Now, with all that being said, can you overcome a sense of entitlement? Well, you can, but again, the work takes the individual. And the individual must understand that this is a problem. It's a societal problem. It is everywhere. No matter what gender, no matter what race, creed, religion, you have a number of people who are filled with entitlement and ego. They all go hand in hand with each other. Now, the first step in learning to overcome the entitlement issue is to stop comparing yourself to others. Remember, you're a unique individual and you can accomplish your own goals and dreams. One of the problems that I see with people, we are never blessed for what we have. This is why I always come up at the end of all of my videos would be blessed for what you have. Don't worry about what you don't have. Many of us worry about what we don't have. We worry too much about the wants, but we don't recognize the needs and we don't recognize what we got. Now, what you have to do as well is you have to take the time to think about things you want to achieve and make a list of things that you're willing to make happen. Now, you have to be realistic about this because a number of individuals who have entitlement issues aren't realistic. Now, in life, I will tell you this, when you're trying to work out an issue, there are going to be setbacks. So don't be discouraged by temporary setbacks. If you fall, get up and go again. Now, the feeling you get from accomplishing a goal on your own is going to be much greater. This is when you start to earn respect and you can build your self-esteem and you don't have to worry about living for other people because that's what most of us do. And that's what causes the insecurities. So with willpower and determination, you can overcome the sense of entitlement. Also, do something because it is the right thing to do. Now, just because you do the right thing, don't always expect to be rewarded. Try and look at things from another person's point of view. It can make doing things simply because they are right to feel like a good thing. Now, you always grow if you listen to somebody's point of view other than yours, even if you disagree with it. You can learn. Now, make them back up what they're saying because there are a lot of people who have opinions, and all opinions aren't warranted. If you can't back up your opinion, it's never going to be heard. Personal opinions derive from feelings. And I always tell you this: feelings cloud critical thinking. Again, feelings cloud critical thinking. Now, also, what you have to do, because one thing that has people in the form of entitlement, again, you look at some of Kendra G's videos, there's a number of women on there. They have entitlement issues. They don't live in the real world. In fact, I'm going to tell you this: don't live in the past. The way we handle these challenges our challenges in our past often determines our outlook on other aspects of life as well. Also, politeness. I mentioned it earlier. Gratitude, respect. Well, you got to practice treating others with respect, compassion, and gratitude. So if you're genuinely kind to others and commit to acts of selflessness, not selfishness, but selflessness, without expecting a favor in return, others feel freer to return the same goodness to you. Just like I said, don't always expect something in return. Make that sacrifice. Also, celebrate the successes of others, even when you feel like a failure. And here's why I'm going to say that. If I failed at something and I saw somebody else succeed at something, what they have succeeded in may not be the same as what I'm looking to succeed in. However, there's a process no matter what it is. What did they do to succeed? How can I learn from them? This is common sense, folks. Now, even in the most difficult times, when you feel like you can't accomplish anything, especially if you're trying to control the feelings of sense of entitlement, you can learn to celebrate the success of others. Now, also, you must understand when working on yourself, it's learning to change. Well, and I tell you, sometimes it's hard. So, while the idea of tackling personal issues and learning to overcome them independently is good, there are going to be times that you need some support. Additionally, when you're trying to overcome having a sense of entitlement, so it may be necessary to reach out for professional help. Also, you might want to spend time. Again, you might want to spend some time around those less fortunate than you. Why? Because you can make a difference in someone else's life. And this is what you don't see going on a lot today, because people are wrapped up in themselves. Volunteering time, volunteering time around others and seeing the struggles of other people can help you realize that everyone is the same and that everyone just wants a happy life. That's true in theory. We're all not the same. We're all human, but we're all not the same. Or let me say this: we all didn't start on the same footing. Now, what I'm going to say this: if you need help, I'm just going to tell you to reach out to better help. Well, again, with appropriate intervention, people who have a sense of entitlement can learn ways of changing behavior and interacting with others. So if you feel the need to reach out from a professional, consider making an appointment with a mental health clinic or counselor. Now, I say this because many of us, when we run into an issue, we don't believe we have a problem. We are living in denial. If we have a problem, it's going to show. So be able to reach out and get some help, because it's going to be better for you and it's going to be better for individuals around you. Now, again, counselors, they have an idea of what's going on. They're going to give you a program, but you have to follow the program. Now, again, when we deal with a sense of entitlement, a number of us have it. And again, when it comes to psychology, what I've done was giving you a psychology behind the sense of entitlement, gave you the meaning. What does it really mean? So to go over it, when we deal with a sense of entitlement, it's a personality trait. It's a personality trait that is based on the belief that a person deserves privileges or recognition for something that they didn't earn. So they want credit for doing something that they really didn't do. In simpler terms, they have the idea that the world owes them something in exchange for nothing. Now, again, what causes the unhealthy sense of entitlement? Well, children not being told no, the environment, certain personality disorders can take effect, like the antisocial personality disorder, the narcissistic personality disorder. Look, folks, all of this can lead down the road to stress. It could lead to stress on you. It could lead to stress on others. This is what I'm going to tell you. You have to understand who you are. You have to admit you're at fault sometimes. It's okay to have confidence in yourself. But what I see is many people overpraise themselves. They do that in relationships, they do that on a job. They're trying to get a leg up. And when you don't live in a real world, you end up disappointed at all times. When you have entitlement issues, entitlement is very serious. Again, it's not a mental health issue, it's a personality trait, and it's a negative personality trait. Just like narcissism is a personality trait, being selfish. These are traits that a number of individuals have today. And they can use it to become a victim. They can use it to silence speech by making you feel guilty. This is where all the shaming tactics come into play too. When somebody is actually shaming you for backing up your views with facts, the shaming is they're denying the truth. And they're shaming you because they believe that they're above you. That's why individuals who know how to shame make the person to shame me feel low. Now, people who like to shame, they like to blame, these are individuals who don't recognize responsibility. These are individuals who haven't grown up. Now, we'll say this when it comes to entitlement issues, don't spoil anyone, make them earn it. Too many children today are spoiled by parents. Parents are afraid to say no. And when parents are afraid to say no, the children lash out. And if you're dating somebody, if they don't recognize the word no, then you don't need to be around that person. No one is entitled. In fact, when people have entitlement issues, they also have a big ego. Get a self-righteous attitude, and they think they're better than you, even though they haven't accomplished anything. It's in their mind. It's almost a delusional belief. I did a video on delusion 2 weeks ago. I mean, when you tie in a narcissistic personality disorder and delusion, you're going to run into entitlement. And generally, individuals who believe that they're entitled, They're obnoxious. They're immature. Some of them have temper tantrums, especially when they don't get their way. So what I'm going to say is don't give anybody their way if they didn't earn it. Don't care who they are. Because once you reach out and give them their way, and let me give you an example of this. A family member asks you for money, and you're constantly giving them money. Flip the script and ask them to lend you some money. And if they get upset, then you know what it is. Because they, in their mind, think it's your job to help them, but not their job to help you. Reciprocity is also missing from individuals with entitlement issues. This is why you have to communicate thoroughly with people and then watch their actions. Now, sometimes learning about an individual takes time, sometimes it doesn't. But I always look for behavior patterns. And when you have a conversation with somebody and it's about them and they get upset, they start shaming, they think they're better than you, and they tell you, well, I'm not impressed by you. That's the insecurities coming out of them. And this is why psychology is very important, whether you study it or not. Today, there are a number of people who have entitlement issues. And this is why there's a lack of politeness. This is why there's no structure in some cases. People don't respect authority because you have individuals who come in with a big head on their shoulders. Now, the good place to knock that head off of somebody's shoulder, what it used to be, was the military. Well, one branch you can go and knock some heads off some shoulders is the Marine Corps. The other three branches, no. Boot camps have gotten weak. And see, that's the problem with this country now. People believe that they're entitled to sit home and not work. This is why we have inflation. When you can't find enough workers to go work in a business, you have to raise the price of cost and goods to make sure that the sales are met. Because remember, business owners still have a lot of expenses. When more money is being printed by the government, and the government thinks that's the right thing to do, although it isn't, it just lowers the value of the dollar. But these individuals who are in power, you can't tell them anything. They think they know more than you and they want to tell you how to think. But in the end, they have entitlement issues. Now they're going to deny it, but they're causing their own problems and they're causing problems for the rest of us because we have to pay for the problems. These are examples of individuals with entitlement issues, and they think they're entitled to a second, third, fourth term. They think they're entitled to a life of being a career politician. But in the end, they're not looking out for you or me. They're looking out for themselves. So again, individuals who have entitlement issues don't see a real world. They're not adult about anything. Unrealistic expectations, to name a few of the personality traits. So I will tell you this. If you run into somebody who has the entitlement personality trait, get away from them as fast as you can. Because in the end, you're going to waste your time because they don't want to hear anything you have to say. Because they think they're up here and you're down there. And in the end, when you deal with people who have entitlement issues, all you're doing is wasting your time. That's time you can't get back. And remember, your time is precious. And that's my commentary for this edition of the 411 Talk Zone radio show right here on YouTube. If you like what I just presented, please comment, share, and subscribe. And if you're looking for some educational content, you check out the QCIS channel, formerly the Mind of STEM channel. The slogan is still the same because on that channel, you get a daily dose of science, technology, engineering, and math. Now, if you cannot find the QCIS channel or the 401 Talk Zone radio show channel on YouTube, you can check me out on Twitter. After each video that I record, whether it's a live stream or a pre-recorded video, I'll post it up on YouTube. Now, for the QCIS channel, I'll take it one step further. Since that content is educational and professional, I also post the QCIS channel on my LinkedIn page. And in the end, I'm going to leave you with this. Be blessed for what you have. Don't worry about what you don't have. Always know that the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. And for individuals who are offended by this content or you're not offended by this content, I'm going to share this with you. If it doesn't apply, let it fly. But if the shoe fits, wear it. If you don't like the shoe, change it. And one more favor that I would like for you all to do. Get me some more subscribers and get the likes up on this video. Share this video because this is important content. Now, next week, I will return with a live stream, but going forward, I'm going to mix live streams and I'm going to mix some pre-recorded content because I believe no matter how you deliver the message and make sure that your message is clear. And again, thank you for viewing this commentary right here on the 411 Talk Zone radio show channel. Till next time, my name is Leon Jones. I want you all to have a wonderful and gracious evening. God bless you. I'm out.